Hey, all. Welcome to the Anxiety Warriors podcast. We are your hosts, Margot
and Abby. We are friends, teachers, and storytellers, but above all, we're anxiety warriors on a mission to raise awareness and understanding about anxiety and mental health.
You will hear honest, engaging, and joyful stories from us and many other anxiety warriors about living with anxiety. If you're seeking a space to laugh, connect, feel inspired and empowered, and learn valuable tips rooted in mindfulness and more, your warrior community is here for you.
Join us as we navigate this journey of life together.
Welcome, warriors.
Yay!
It's interview day. We are so excited to share this interview. We had the pleasure, the privilege, the honor of speaking with a dear friend, a fellow small business owner, Miss Brittany Shillingford. And before, Brittany is the owner of Busy Bee Crafts. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to read her bio in 1 second before Abby hops into her recap. Here it comes. Brittany Shillingford is a licensed mental health counselor, a mom of 2, and a small business owner. She started a handmade headband business, Busy Bee Crafts, while she was getting her master's degree in mental health counseling. 10 plus years later, and she is still juggling practicing therapy and running her business. Brittany hopes through either her headband business and working with clients that she can help people become happier, more confident, and more fulfilled. All right, Abby, let's recap this chat.
Oh, okay.
I know.
So I've been obsessed with Brittany's product, the headbands.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Margot got me into them like right around the pandemic.
Yep. When I got my first batch, several batches.
Oh, okay. And I now have a problem with buying headbands. Right?
We do.
We both do.
Yeah, this is a both of us problem.
Yeah. If you've watched any of our videos of us recording, we're always wearing a headband. If you have seen pictures of us, we're wearing the headband. Anyway, that's all to say that this was my first time meeting Brittany, and I was really excited. I felt like I was like meeting a friend / like little celebrity, like, you know,
right.
like not little, but like celebrity light. Like I was like,
yeah,
jazzed.
Well, we'll give some context. So I found Brittany's headbands. I think it was, I want to say it was early or late 2019, maybe. Okay. And so like I got my first few headbands then. She's a local business on Long Island where I live. And so she had put out a model call like a few months later for local people from Long Island to come wear headbands for a photo shoot for the upcoming launch of the next season. And so I responded to the model call. I was like, this probably won't happen, but who knows? And so she reached out, or somebody reached out on her behalf. And I went and we met in person, and I've been doing a bunch of these like headband modeling sessions with her since. She's so cool. She's extremely like grounded and down to earth, as you're going to hear, warriors. But when Abby says like, it's like meeting a mini celebrity, like she's just such a light on Instagram. She's got thousands of followers that like, it kind of feels like, oh, okay, this is somebody. Like,
yeah,
hanging out with somebody. Yeah.
So it's very exciting. And Brittany's just really awesome. Like you just said, she's like down to earth. She's thoughtful, like in the way she responds to stuff. And it was just like a total joy connecting with her. So Brittany shares her anxiety story and, you know, how it shows up in different aspects of her life, but particularly around being a small business owner and the leap of faith that she took, especially around the pandemic, in diving wholeheartedly into her small business. She talks about financial stress and social media and how not tying her self-worth into her business and her sales. And she shares a lot about the uncertainty that comes up with owning a small business and the constant thoughts of like, you know, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do for this? Will this be enough for my business? She talks a bit about being a mom of 2 and, you know, also juggling that, being a mom, having a small business, being a counselor. And then how does she carve out and find time for herself? And she leaves us with many powerful reframes and strategies, and ultimately, you know, just do it, right? Like just to remember, like, you don't have to always just overthink everything. You can just do it. She just really talks about like, you know, it's not too late. And she just shares like, hey, she just started going to CrossFit. Like this is, you know, she's applying the wisdom that she has, that it's just not too late. And it was a really powerful and inspiring chat. And I'm just super grateful that I got to connect with Brittany.
Yes, same. And we can't wait for you to meet her warrior. So, without further ado, here's the show. Welcome back, warriors.
Woo!
Woo! That is our fantastic guest, Brittany. We are so glad that you're here. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay. All right. Well, let's dive in to all the good stuff, which apparently is anxiety. I don't know. I'm always like, the good stuff is something that is, sometimes a deeply annoying mental health issue. But for us here at Anxiety Warriors Podcast, it is the good stuff. It is the stuff.
Juicy. It's good stuff. Yeah.
It's the good stuff. So tell us about how anxiety has showed up in your life.
So I'm a small business owner, and I feel like every small business owner has a little bit of anxiety. And I find that a lot of the anxiety comes from money and comes from the uncertainty of having a small business. You don't know what's going to happen. You might assume, oh, things are going great, so they're going to continue to go great. And then if you've been doing it long enough, you'll find out, oh, that's just not always how it works. It's not always up, up, up. And I think a lot of people have a sense of comfort when they have a full-time job that pays them, on a certain schedule. And of course, that sense of certainty is false. It's not, as a lot of people found out during the pandemic, it doesn't just because you have something doesn't mean it's going to be there forever. But I think when you have a small business and you don't have that steady, guaranteed amount of money coming in, amount of sales coming in, it is super scary. And it can definitely lead to, oh shit, what am I going to do moments, which I've had happen a lot recently. And I think it's scary. It's super scary. And I don't know any small business owners. Even when you're doing well, you still kind of, I think, in the back of your head have that feeling of like, okay, is this going to end? Like, how long is this going to go for? Am I excited about this? Like, where, is it going to be enough? Always feeling that feeling of like, is this going to be enough to X, Y, or Z? Like continue my business, pay my mortgage, like when it's your business, when it's your job, it's the real deal. There's no, when it's no longer a side hustle.
Yeah.
It's
right.
It can be scary.
Right.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. But I want to start right at the beginning so Margot and I are huge fans of Brittany. If any of our audience has ever seen a picture of Margot or I, you've also seen part of Brittany's business, which is her headbands. And so I have a couple questions, but if you would just give us a little background on when the shift was for you from it being like a side gig to being a small business and taking the leap into that,
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely was a big shift. So a little over 5 years ago, in December, it was 5 years, I decided to quit my job and work as a therapist. So it wasn't like the full leap, but my business had been doing pretty well. And considering I was working as a case manager and not getting paid super well, it was pretty equal with what I was already making at my job. And I had taken my test to get my license to become a licensed mental health counselor. And I didn't want to work at that agency anymore. So I figured, you know what, I'll use my license. I'll work as a therapist. And as I build up my clients, I'll have my business to kind of help keep me afloat. And that would be great. I'll do both. And then I couldn't do both. I found that a couple months in, I was drowning in sewing, and I had about 20 clients, which, includes the sessions and the notes and the driving to the office and all of that. And it just wasn't making any sense anymore. And I decided, you know what? I could always be a therapist. I have my license. I'll have my license. The customers want more items. They were continuing to sell out as, the weeks went by. And I was like, okay, this was not a fluke, weird situation. This is happening again. So I think that's kind of a sign to see where it goes, which is not really my vibe and it's not me to feel confident to do that. But I just think it was the timing with where I was at in my life. We didn't have any kids. We didn't yet own a home. It just was an easy decision. It wasn't super risky. People always use that phrase, take the leap. And it didn't feel very leapy because it was fine. If it didn't work out, I could just go back to being a therapist, it wasn't, it wasn't that scary, honestly. It got scarier. It got scarier. But at the time, it was fine. It was like, this is the thing to do. It felt right, I guess is how to
Yeah.
describe it. Like it really felt like this was the decision. There was no like, oh, what should I do back and forth? You know, how
Right.
some people have that, or like consulting family and friends. Like I was just
Right.
like, this is what I'm doing. You can be on board or you can think I'm a wackadoo, whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna do it.
Which
Yes.
sounds like freeing, right? It sounds like not the overthinking and not the, you know, it was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm just gonna do this and see how it goes. And
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I have one more question just in regards to this because you talked about how like having the small business, you like constantly like ask yourself like, will this be enough, right? And like
Mhm.
financially and stuff. But do you ever tie like your self-worth into your business and stuff and like how does that show up for you?
Absolutely. That was a really, really big struggle because in 2020, when a lot of people were really struggling financially, my business had its most successful year. And it was technically its first year, me doing it full time because I had quit my job in 2019 in April. So it was like 2020 was the first full year. And it was so incredibly successful and like shockingly so that I could do so well selling such a small, a low priced item that I felt like really proud and really confident and really great. And then I assumed that would continue, like I hinted to earlier, and it did not. And then I started to feel like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And it was a weird balance between
there was no reason why or nothing specific that I did to do so well. Therefore, I have no control why it's not doing well and then I how to fix it, So it was like I
Mhm.
blamed myself, but then also I didn't. I like pretended it was like some weird sets of fate and things aligning to make it go so well, and it wasn't me. Like I have nothing cool about my product. Like I just people were home, it was the time, kind of like justifying it in that way. But then also at the same time, I did feel disappointed in myself, and I did feel like, okay, so now I'm going into the following years ordering based on the previous years and ordering too much and then
Mm.
feeling the shame. I have all this leftover inventory. What do I do with it? How do I get rid of it? Customers are going to know that I over ordered. Why does she keep having sales, et cetera, et cetera? And really feeling
Right.
like the literal weight of all of the extra product. And like, should have known that, like, I don't know. I should have
Yeah.
known, and I did it wrong, and
Mm.
really feeling like I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't know, do we ever? I don't know if anybody truly ever feels confident, but it really felt like, what the hell am I doing? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. Yeah. I value so deeply how honest that you're, not just how honest that you're being right now, but this is how you show up for your community as well, right? And as Abby and I are both small businesses, we know what we have to deal with. We try to do our best to be as honest and upfront about what we're dealing with about with our small business anxiety or whatever, and being transparent about it with our communities to some extent. And it's such a weird balance to strike too, because like you get a reputation of like being vulnerable, and that's great. But then you also get a reputation of like being an expert in your field. And so, and knowing your shit, knowing, how much you're supposed to order, for example, or that's just a random example, but like, and then I can just imagine the levels of overthinking that would go into every decision that you make from thereafter. Because all of a sudden, when things don't feel like they're going as well, quote unquote, as they were before, I just very much appreciate how you acknowledge the trains of thought and how they can shift so greatly after feeling that dip, right? And it can be
Hmm.
like one day you're on top of the world and then the next day you're not. And then all of a sudden, everything you previously believed feels like it's no longer true, even though deep down, like you're still an amazing person and you're still a lucky person and a blessed person or, whatever it is. But like, it's just natural for us to just get in those thought loops of like, but am I good enough? Is it enough? Is my product still enough? And so like, obviously we are big supporters of your product and we want everyone everywhere to own them and buy them forever. Not just because they're amazing and everyone should know about them, but because we love you and we want you to keep finding success. Right. Excuse me. But I just have, I don't have a question here. I'm just wanting to reflect to you that I appreciate your honesty always, not just right now, but in your social media, like, you know, in the way that you show up in the world, it does offer people a real sense of what it's like to put yourself on the line every day and to believe in yourself every day, right? To keep showing up for the business in the way that you still are without, you know, while you can still show, hey, I'm going through this and some shifts are happening because I have to take care of my family, right? And keep paying for my house and whatever. But also, I'm going to keep doing this for as long as I can because I love it and I'm passionate about it. And I think that that's what always shines through. And I think a lot of us warriors that also own small businesses can deeply relate to like, we want our passion to shine through and who we are and what we plan to do to help people to shine through, while also acknowledging and honoring that we're human beings just doing the best and not knowing what the hell's going on all the time. And it's such a hard balance to strike. And I feel like, I just want you to know that I feel like you strike it so well from the outside perspective, but you're the one living in your mind and body, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really, really nice to hear because I am inside my own head. So I don't know what it appears. And, you know, it is hard. It's hard to know how much to say. And, you know, it's not just me. I have a partner and we have children. And once you put something out on the internet, it's there forever. So it is hard to kind of balance between, you know, being too honest and sharing things that he would not be okay with, but also know, like, hey, this is what's happening, you know, like these are the things that are going on a little bit behind the scenes, because I do think it's important for people to show up and be honest on the internet and show people like I am not doing it all. Like, please do not think that just because I took on this other thing, it was because I want to. It's because I had to. And it also means that these things, that this to-do list, none of these things are getting done. And it is really difficult. Really, like last night, I looked at my to do list for the day and I was like, I did one thing. I did one thing. And that was to go to the clinic to see if I had an ear infection, you know, like I didn't do any of the work that I set out to do. And it can really make you feel some type of way. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this stuff done? Okay, I guess it's not going to be as organized as that, you know, and just like really coming to terms with the fact that like it is okay.
Yes.
It's okay. You know, and it's really hard for me because I was so used to, for the last 5 years, doing the things that needed to be done. Of course, certain things, I had 2 children in this time, certain things didn't get done. But it's like at another level, and summer fabrics are not ordered and it is May 1st and people are wondering when the launch is. And I'm like, I don't know because I don't even have the fabrics and this thing and that thing and that thing. And it's all spinning around in my head at all times, along with, you know, just life stuff. And it's really challenging, but just kind of having that self-talk and saying like, it will all get done and we'll all be okay. If you don't post on social media for 3 days, guess what? It's okay. No one's going to be messaging you like, are you okay? I can tell you that no one messaged me for the last 3 days. I have not I mean, you know, asking where I was.
Right.
You know, I'm fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
All, you know, you'll post again and people will fine. You know.
Fine. Yes, totally.
Do you feel that like being honest, right? Because that's like, honestly, like that's one of the reasons that like I always want to support you, is because you feel really authentic on social media, right? You're not like, I'm a boss babe and I have everything together and I'm the perfect mom and my house is always clean and my, you know, I don't know what else I can say. Like, you know, everything is, my to-do list is always checked up, right?
Yeah.
But like, so like, that's one of the reasons like I really appreciate you, is because I feel like we need a lot more of that in our face on social media rather than the fake, you know, I have it all together and I'm secretly like rich, right? Like, and nobody knows. And so I'm wondering, like, does that feel like, does that alleviate any stress, being honest and authentic, or does that change the anxiety in a different way?
I've never thought about this. It is interesting because it you would think like, yeah, it takes the pressure off. But I feel like every person, I don't know, anybody I've ever talked to has a pressure that they put on themselves. So even if I'm not feeling the pressure from people directly, expecting me to show up in a certain way, in a certain schedule that I've set, I still feel that pressure of like, I need to do these things in this order. And it's like sometimes the stuff people don't even know. Like people don't know if I've scheduled out what posts I'm going to make or if I'm doing them in the moment. People don't know that. And
Right.
it doesn't matter. I feel like the majority of the time when I'm not scheduling them, they do better.
Yeah.
But for me, I like want to be, because it is more my personality to plan things. I want to be the person that has it all mapped out for the month. But it's just not, somehow it's like, no matter what phase I'm in, like I've just never been able to do that for a sustained period of time, like maybe like 1 month. And I don't know, maybe it's just realizing that like that's not who I am. That's not how I want to work. I want to show up. I want to post what feels fun. I want to post what feels relevant to me. Like, sure, would it be great if I like batch worked some hair tutorial videos? Absolutely. That would be helpful because I can't so much do those that much anymore with my schedule. But as far as the content that really connects you with people, I think that stuff is more fun, and stuff like that can't really be planned in advance. So it's like kind of changing your own idea of like what you need to do and what people need, the way things need to be done. It's like, just because that has worked before, or you think that's the way the people do it, whoever those people are, who have their shit together, it's like, who cares? Like,
Right.
it just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. Exactly. It's so funny because when you were talking about like social media posts or whatever, I had the image of when Abby was saying, "Oh, your house is always clean," and blah, blah. It's like those BS videos of like a woman who's just like, "Oh my gosh, the mess behind me," and there's like a single towel like on a chair, and you're like, "Bitch, please, are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And that's not real, right? Either she's got
Yeah.
full-time help, someone cleaning her home, or she's anally retentively cleaning her home. Like someone is,
Or the clutter's over on the other side, not in the
right.
shot. Like,
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
And so like I think like Abby said, it's refreshing to want to support and purchase things from people that feel like human beings, not just because of their knowledge and what they're doing, right? Because you obviously have extensive knowledge in the things that you are providing for people, but because I like you, right? Like the
yeah.
idea is at the end of the day, it's like you're buying from a human being and not some cog in a machine. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so you've been kind of like talking about some of the overthinking and the self-talk and stuff. And so talk to us more about how anxiety kind of shows up in you physically. Like how does it manifest in your mind and body, in your behaviors, and like how you treat your family, like all the things, like how does it kind of show up in you?
Yeah, I can definitely be a little bit short and rude with my family members, which is, uh, my husband can handle it, but with kids, it's like, I feel bad. They don't know what's happening. Um, and I feel like in my body, I definitely feel like just like bad inside my body, and in my brain, I get like very like spirally, and like then sometimes I'll catch myself and be like, oh my God, stop thinking that stuff. Like, you are not going to succeed if this is the stuff that's going on inside your head. Like, it's not helpful for you. And I know that. And I talk to people about that all the time. And it's so hard.
Yes.
Therapists are humans too. Like everybody kind of needs those constant reminders, because we are thinking literally all the time, and we don't even feel like we even know that it's happening until you have those moments where you catch yourself. um and I definitely feel like the self-talk is really the biggest, and has been the biggest in the last couple of years, kind of with the shame, shaming myself, like, oh my God, why did I do this? Look at all this. Look, how are we going to get out of this? We have no money, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff is just like in there, round and round and round. And I don't love that. It's not that fun.
No. I mean, financial anxiety is like a real thing. And it's so like consuming. It's an exhaustion of consuming. And then it's like trying to figure out like every month, what should I do? Right? Do I just give up the thing that I love? Do I do something right? And it's like there's a lot that goes into just the idea of financial anxiety. And I personally get really annoyed when people are like, well, now you're having like a lack mentality. And if you just shifted your mindset, right, then you would get more, and like, yes, reframing stuff can open up opportunity, but also being worried about finances doesn't cause you to have more financial issues, right? It's like planning for the future.
Though some people would say it does, and that's the problem. Right?
Wait, say what do you mean?
I was going to say, though, some people would say it does influence your financial security, like thinking that like having negative thoughts about your finances is going to influence your continued negative finances. And that mentality, right, is part of the problem too. That's what, right. That's where I land on that. It's like, don't tell me that I'm lacking in my mindset. And that's the only reason or one of the main reasons why.
Right. Right.
Yeah, please look at my bank account. You will see it is a fact. It is not a thought.
Right.
Really real.
You're not creating. And that's the part that I feel like small business owners sometimes get. Like, oh, you're just not thinking, more positively. Oh, you're not looking for the right opportunity. You've closed yourself off to stuff, as opposed to like the reality of, no, like finances, I need every single week, month, to like pay my actual bills. And like, how do I hold this financial anxiety without it like over consuming me? Right. Like,
yeah. It is, it's interesting to think about like what Margot was saying about how, it's certainly helpful to shift and reframe and to, but when you feel like that's the only thing, it's not helpful, because then you feel like, oh, I'm not doing my thoughts right.
Yes.
What? Nothing is right. I can't even think properly.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And that is such
really try.
It's so ass backwards. And I feel like it coming from a mental health counselor like you are too, it hits home that much more. And so we just want all the warriors to take this in. Please take this in, because whether you're a small business owner or not, right? Like shitting on your thoughts is not going to be what helps you get better thoughts. Like ever.
Or get more money. Shitting on your thoughts is not going to get you more money. Like
it's so backwards. But anyway, we digress. We move on. Talk to us about some of the ways that you do actively show up for yourself. What are some of the go-to strategies that soothe your anxiety, that help you feel supported? Kind of talk to us about some of the strategies.
So this has been a big, taking care of myself has been a challenge the last 3 years, because I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and a small business. So it has been really a journey. I feel like that's such a buzzword, a journey to kind of figure out how do people do this? How do people take care of themselves while also doing all the other things that we've been discussing, And for a long time, I was stuck in the thoughts of like, possible. How are people doing this? How are they doing this and this in their house and their laundry and their kids and their job? And it just doesn't make any sense. What, do I not sleep? And it's like, okay, settle down. No, that's not what's happening. Like you can, and I someone said this originally, but everyone says it now. You can do everything, but not all at once. And I just have to keep reminding myself that it's going to get done. And the stuff that doesn't get done, the sky won't fall. Everything will be fine. And you just move it along. And I've been trying to prioritize taking care of myself, even though it feels like I don't have the time and I should be doing something else. But guess what? There's always something else that's going to need to be done.
Yeah.
Like sometimes my husband will be like, do you want to hang out or do you have something to do? And I'm like, well, I always have something to do, but if you want to hang out, I'll hang out with you. Like deciding take care of myself, or I'm going to take care of this, or I'm going to take care of that, instead of doing the things, that are on my to-do list. So what I've started doing, actually last August, I started going to CrossFit because I got sick of telling myself I didn't like my body, and still working on that. And I was going to work out at home. We have a little gym at home, but I just wasn't doing it. And like, I had everything there that I needed, and I just needed to get myself to do it. And I wasn't doing it. And I was beating myself up, being like, you just need to do it. And it's like, okay, but guess what? I'm not. So what can I do to get myself to do it? And I was like, you know what? If I had to show up somewhere, maybe I would go. So now here we are 8 months later, and I just upgraded my membership, and I went this morning at 6 a.m. And
Wow.
I'm not a morning person, I'll just say that. And waking up before my kids has been a goal of mine. Pretty much even before I had kids, I was like, I want to wake up early and do meditation. Just never did it. And then I had children, and then I never did it. So I'm just trying to, it doesn't always have to be at 6 a.m., but I'm trying to take the time to incorporate that into my days, into my week, because I want to feel stronger. I want to carry both my babies, is what I tell my daughter when I have to leave the house and she's sad.
Yeah.
I want to be there for myself, and I want to tell myself I'm going to do something and show up for myself, because I literally have never done that. And instead of shaming myself for having never done it, I just want to be like, you can do it, like, instead of
Yes.
looking at all those people who have visibly strong arms and look like they care about their bodies, which is so silly, because like, people care about their bodies, and it might not be visible, but I just want to feel strong. And I honestly got sick of hearing myself complain.
Ah,
Like, my mom will do that, will say, complaints, and then not do the action that you need to do. And plenty of people do that. Listen, it's like,
yeah.
the number one thing my clients do is complain about something and then not make the changes that they need to make. We're human.
Yeah.
But I just saw myself in her, like, I'm literally doing that. Like, I think that it's annoying to hear, but like, I'm doing the same thing. Just do the things, like, easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it. Everybody would be like super fit and do this and do that and do all the things they want to do if it was easy. But guess what? It's really hard.
Yeah. And you're in a very specific season of your life too, right? And I feel like we don't acknowledge that enough, no matter whether you're a mom or whatever your situation is.
Yeah.
We just don't acknowledge the fact that, like the seasons of the earth turning, right? And of the world, like, we are going through different stuff every year. It's going to be like, even going back to the small business stuff, what you thought you needed 5 years ago, 4 years ago, is very different than what you need to do now, just for any number of reasons that are mostly beyond you, right? And it's like, yes, okay, maybe taking care of your physical health, showing up for yourself and your body, those are things that you hopefully can have some control over. And if you're lucky enough, then great. And it sounds like you've taken the reins on that, and like found a community and found whatever is working for you for these past 8 months. And that is so awesome, because all we can ever hope to do is show up for ourselves in the best way we can in the season of our life that we're in, right? And if you want to pull back and look at it that way, maybe that helps. Or just looking at it as like, hey, I gave myself an extra 5 minutes of whatever today, like reading a book or getting in your 6 a.m. workout is freaking phenomenal. Like, it's freaking phenomenal. You know what I mean? And so, like, also remembering to pat ourselves on the back when we're able to do those little things. And if you don't get to it tomorrow, like you said several times, we're only human beings. We're only going to be able to do what we can in a day. And yeah, so I love that.
I really like the change in the habit, like getting so annoyed with yourself on having the same complaint over and over. I mean, that's exactly it. And I think so many people, including myself, can totally relate to that. And you're like, I need a change. It doesn't matter how much equipment I have at home. I am not showing up for my workout equipment. Like, I need to change a change of environment that's going to change the habit. Like, I love that, but it's so hard to do.
So hard, especially because, back to the financial thing, is a factor. It's like, it's free in my house.
Yes.
And I'm not doing it. I don't have the money to do it. And it's like, no, I don't, but like, it's not getting done otherwise. So,
right.
like, do I want to do it?
Yep.
Or do I want to not do it? Maybe one day I'll be the person that can do it in my home, or maybe once I build this habit a little bit, then some of the days I can work out at home or whatever, but it's like for now, season of life, like
yep. And we're always going to spend our money somewhere, right? And so it's also just kind of like, well, what if that is what's serving you and helping you and that's what you need, then like you'll find the money for that and cut something else, right? Like unfortunately, that's most people's reality too in this world.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you give us like a word or a phrase? How would you describe your relationship to anxiety?
I never thought about like it like this, but anxiety can be good. It is it's natural, like animals, we needed it for a reason. I don't want a lot of it, most of it can go away, but it's kind of like that, like, okay, what is this for? Trying to tell me, because I think it can be used as a tool to show you, like, for a lot of people, like, it's come from anxiety. You feel the anxiety and you're like, oh, what is that? Oh, this is not a good situation. Like something seems off with this person, or something seems like this is not in my heart to do this anymore, whatever it is. And I think it's kind of, yeah, of course, certain levels of anxiety, like get your meds, girl. Like,
sure.
Sometimes it's not what you got to do because it's just not working out. And then also like use your tools to get through it.
Yeah.
That was a really long phrase.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's just go ahead, Abby.
It's a valuable reframe. That's the thing, is like we've had people who talk about like anxiety being a motivator and anxiety helping people get stuff done, or anxiety being a way of keeping us safe from things, right? And so it's just such a valuable reminder, a valuable tool, like a valuable thing to be like, no, anxiety can be good, right? Like I can use these powers for good. I just have to remind myself why it's here.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could go back in time and speak to a younger version of yourself, what kind of advice would you offer?
How young?
As young as you want. Could be last year.
Yeah.
Just a previous version of you.
I think I would say it's not too late. Like it feels like, we're always trying to do things and it feels like, oh, it's too late. I should have started this years ago. It's like, just do it now. It's like with the workout thing, like cut it out and just start today. Somebody said this, it was like time passes anyway. So just like do it, do whatever the thing is, go back to college. Like don't have that fear of like, but then I'm going to be X amount of years old. It's like, okay, but you're going to be that age anyway.
Yes.
So do you want to be that age and still be thinking about the thing you should have done? Or like, it just, I don't know. Humans are so weird. Just like do it.
Yes.
We're so hung up on like markers and age and this and that. And I don't know if like society, especially women with it, we can get into a whole thing about children and ages of that, and like do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that so much.
For real.
I mean, Nike had it right. Just do it, right? Like
it really is the perfect catchphrase and it has so many meanings.
But
it really does.
I like that it's not too late, because that's the part that I think we do get hung up on. Like, oh, I should have done this when I was 20. Oh, I should have done this, whenever.
Like there's a perfect time. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. In our minds, the perfect time was however many years ago. Right. But so I just feel like that part is so important to remember, to keep in your heart. Like,
yes.
Yeah, you're not too old. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just try. And if you're going to be that age anyway, you may as well find some passion and some joy, some happiness, something that lights you up.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even if it's just your hobbies or whatever, it doesn't have to be for work.
Literally anything. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. Last question before we hop into some lightning round fun. What does being an anxiety warrior mean to you? When you hear this phrase, what comes up?
Immediately I think strength, like getting through stuff that sucks and knowing that, like, even if it's hard, it will be over and everything is temporary, you know? I've had to remind myself a lot in the last couple of years. Like everything is temporary.
Yeah.
Good stuff too. So, you know, enjoy it, love it.
I love that. It's just like, it just goes back to the just do it. Like everything's temporary. So just do it.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, so, so good. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and your experience with us. But we're gonna get down in the mud for just a couple minutes and play in our favorite segment where we just get to know you a little bit better. No questions about anxiety, or not typically, right, Abby? We don't usually ask questions.
Not typically. Yeah.
No, not very, very atypically, but are you ready for lightning round?
I'm ready.
Lightning. Okay. So we're going to go back and forth and ask you just a couple of questions to get to know you a little bit better, add some levity to sometimes what can be a very heavy conversation, talking about mental health, talking about anxiety. Abby, can I go first?
You want me to go first?
Oh, I was asking if I could go.
Oh, go first. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were asking if I wanted to. Okay.
Okay. First question. If you could spend the day with one famous person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
And what would you do?
Oh, yeah.
Well, since this is lightning, I guess I got to go with the first person that popped into my head, which is Celine Dion. And I don't know why. Besides, I think she's amazing, and I've always music since first grade, and I don't know. I just think she's cool. She just seems so cool and badass. Like she just seems like she doesn't give a shit about what you think or what you have. She's like does her thing, and I don't even know. Like it's not like I've done like extensive research on her. I don't even know if that's how she is, but that's like the vibe she gives off, and I feel like I like that energy. I need that energy.
So what is the first song you two would sing together?
Oh gosh, I don't think anyone wants me to sing, especially her.
We do. We do actually. We want everyone to sing on our podcast.
I think your listenership would go down so well. Unless you screen for good singers. I mean, it's so hard because You Love Me was the song I sang in first grade. In my class, the teacher played piano and we recorded it on a tape. I have to find that tape. But you know, she just has so many good songs. It's like, how could you even Titanic? Like the movie would not be the same without that song.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, the movie is great. It stands on its own. But yes, I agree.
It's still like one of my favorite songs. Like what? 30 years later? I don't know.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. 97.
Almost.
97.
Almost, yeah.
So, just a few years shy. 30
Yeah.
years. My goodness. Okay. Abby.
Okay. So this is super random, but you talked about how, you know, you have the to-do list and then like in the some point you have to decide, you know, am I going to keep doing it? What am I going to let go of for the day? So I was super curious when you're talking about that. What is the easiest thing to be like, I'm not doing this on your to-do list? And what is the hardest thing to be like, I really should do this. I shouldn't let it go on your to-do list?
That is such a good question. Sometimes I don't wash my hair. That's pretty easy to let go because of my business, and I just I feel like I could just make it look like I did, and I just don't care that much about it. The hardest thing, I don't even know. I feel like everything feels hard, you know? Like there are definitely non-negotiables. Like I have to, you know, do certain things.
Take care of your kids. Ugh.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Someone Put that on the to-do list. Took care of my kids.
Keep these kids alive.
You were fucking nailing that shit.
Another day. I don't know. I don't want to drag this out. I can't think of anything that's like clever or funny. I don't know. Not that it needs to be clever or funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, we're almost never clever or funny. So any amounts of that is just,
I would disagree. I disagree with that.
We're both weird, which sometimes leads to clever and funny, I guess. But luckily, you know. Okay. If you would gold medal in anything that is not an Olympic sport, what would you get a gold medal in? You're so great at X. You're the gold. It could literally be anything from like color coding your clients to, playing tennis. I don't know, but like what
I
are
have a
you a
really
gold
weird one.
medalist at? Okay.
This is weird. I can pick up a lot of stuff with my feet.
Like what?
I don't know. Like if I drop something, I pretty much always just pick it up with my feet.
That's so
Not like my
interesting.
whole foot, like my
Yeah.
my toes.
Your whole foot would be weird because then it'd be like a magnet or some kind. Like,
where people can do like way crazier things, like Guinness Book situation, but the pen falls on the floor, I'm not going to bend over. I'm just going to pick it up with my foot.
that is
I don't know.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I love that
Like
one. I'm
I
gonna
even
start doing
noticed
that.
we have a bottom drawer in the kitchen with the kids' like plates and cups, and I noticed she was opening it up with her foot, and I was like, why is she doing that? I do that. But I didn't even know that I did that because it's just a thing that I did until I saw her doing it. And I was like, huh, I don't know. It's easier. It's right there. I don't have to bend over, which is weird because I'm 5'1", so like I don't have to bend very far. But I still somehow don't want to.
I love that. You don't like to, that's off your to-do list. We already answered the other question. You're not bending over.
Yeah.
Anything that requires bending over is out.
Yeah.
Just use your foot.
If you can't grab it with your toes, it's staying on the ground.
Maybe that's why my house is so messy.
Make Madison pick it up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so hilarious. I love it. A gold medal in picking things up and doing things with your feet. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. So if you were to have another job, right?
Okay.
It can be a small business. It can not be a small business. It could be being an author or a zookeeper. I'm saying all my dream jobs.
I was about to say, those sound like Abby's dreams.
What would be the dream job after, counseling and headbands?
Well, because you said zookeeper, this has popped into my mind. I'm obsessed with sloths. There's like this sanctuary in Costa Rica, and I've seen it on YouTube, and they like will rescue the babies and then they feed the babies in little bottles. And I just think it's so cute.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how realistic this is, and I just came up with it today, but that sounds amazing.
It sounds so dreamy. I'm with you.
It does sound delightful.
Like a sloth
so
sanctuary. You just
so
hug
relaxing.
them.
Even though they're like so dirty, but they're so cute.
Whatever. So you take a shower
all over
afterwards.
them. Yeah.
All the animals do. All the zoo animals.
Cute. I know. They're disgusting.
Love it. Okay, my final question. What is a recent act of kindness that you either witnessed or that you were able to offer that's brought you joy?
See, these lightning round, they get me because I'm like, if only I prepared, but that's like literally the point of that.
Can't prepare for this one, yeah.
I have one that's really old. Can I do one that's really old?
Sure.
I can't think of anything else. So one time I was driving in the car with my husband, like definitely before we had kids because there were no kids in the car. And there was a lady who was in her car, like so confused, like going the wrong direction, like blocking traffic. Like I forget, it was like one of those weird intersections where like on 347 when it's like, there's like, so many lanes and whatever. It's very confusing. I think she was like trying to make a left and you couldn't make a left. And he like stopped our car and got out of the car and like went to the lady to help the lady. And it was so sweet, but like, this is a volunteer firefighter, lifeguard for 12 years, now police officer. Like, this is like his, he says he doesn't like people, but then you do this kind of stuff. It's like, you just don't like the bad, the people that like don't deserve to be liked. But like, if there's a person that is old and is struggling, like he will go to them. And it's so like, sweet. He doesn't want people to know. He doesn't want to be called upon, like he doesn't want to be required, but he will do it, which is confusing because he is required because it's his job. But anyway, I pass that intersection all the time. I always think about it. Nice. Like, lots of people I feel like, it doesn't involve me. How could I help? Which like totally reasonable. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No shame. But when people do things that are just like unexpectedly nice, you know, like,
Yeah.
not like, oh, I'll hold the door for you, something that's like a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
Right. That's the difference
Right.
between being considerate
Yeah.
and nice and being kind, right? It is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different. Yes. Love that. All right.
All right. All right. Last one. So I know based on Instagram that sometimes you read books, sometimes you listen to podcasts. My assumption, although I could be wrong, sometimes maybe you listen to audiobooks, but same listening, reading. What is a book or audiobook or podcast that you've enjoyed recently that you would recommend to other people?
So I wish I could say book, but I'm trying my best. When we were talking before about like, seasons of life, I'm like, yeah, I want to read more, but I don't think it's this season is the time. Um, so I'm going to say podcast because that's my go-to. And one of my favorites that I listen to religiously is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. It's just so good. I just always loved him from Parenthood. I love that show. What got me to start listening, but I just love how honest, like going back to what we were talking about, he is a recovering addict. He talks openly about it, and I appreciate that because I think that's a really hard thing to talk about and to be open about publicly.
Yeah.
And the people that he interviews are sometimes they're experts. He does experts on Thursdays, I believe. So it's like actually, if you want to listen to an episode, they interviewed a therapist who was a sociopath.
I just finished her book. Oh my God.
Abby literally
good?
just texted me about this like 2 days ago.
She's amazing. Yes.
I did when I heard the podcast, I was like, okay, I have to read this book. I gotta start reading it again. The shit was amazing. It was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Especially just because those are like things that I'm really interested in. And it was just fascinating. It was fascinating. And I just always love the fact that he will ask kind of the questions that like sometimes they're like a little intrusive or other people maybe wouldn't ask, but like that's just his style. And I think it's cool because he's like what everybody's wondering anyway.
Yes.
Exactly. And I love that. And I love how it just opens people up, even people that, you think like, oh, I know that actress. I like her. I'll listen to this interview. And you're like, whoa, oh my God, what a crazy story, like I'm learning things, but it doesn't feel like I'm like listening to like a history, like I'm learning about all these different fields when the experts come on. I'm learning about these different fields when different people, actors come on and they talk about their journeys and their, I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. I'm at least doing that one episode with Patrick.
Yeah. You have to, especially because you just read the book. And now I need to get the book.
I was going to say, just do the audiobook then.
Yeah,
since
I
you can
did
do
the
podcasts.
audiobook. Yeah, it's super
I can't
easy.
do audiobooks.
That's how I feel too. I can't do it either.
I would recommend a memoir. It was like Patrick's voice. If you can do I used to think I couldn't do audiobooks, and I have.
I listened to Gabby Bernstein's book audiobook. I listened to Brene Brown, one of hers, someone else recently. Oh, Marie Forleo, Everything's Figure Outable, which I did like her book, but I just get too spacey. It's so weird because I don't do that with podcasts. I'm not sure
because it's a conversation, but that's how I'm the same way, Brittany, because I've tried listening to audiobooks and I feel like what keeps me engaged is that I'm listening to a conversation. Yeah, because I can't do podcasts that I can do a storytelling podcast, but usually they still have to have like a second person there to like interject a little bit here and there. And so I think it's probably just like the droning of the story,
same voice,
right? That kills me for audiobooks.
I mean,
but
Patrick did pretty good. Yeah, I would when I got a memoir where they were telling their story, that's what really got me into audiobooks. And then I mostly listened to memoirs with the author reading the memoir. And I feel like it's pretty easy because I can relate. At first, I used to think I wasn't an audiobook person at all, and I thought mine would go everywhere. But yeah, it's a good book. It's a fascinating book. I literally texted Margot and I was like, I wonder if we could get her on the podcast.
Doubtful. If she talked to Dax Shepard, I don't think she's got time for our.
No, and I know that.
But you never know. Nothing's
he
impossible.
talks
Just
about
do it.
anxiety and sociopathy, and that is so interesting to me because in sociopathy, you don't really feel stuff and you don't really care and you don't really have emotions. And so, like, what is the experience of anxiety when you don't care and don't have emotion?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah,
it was so cool. It was such a cool thing to hear from the perspective of someone who has that, not someone who studied it.
right.
Yeah, maybe I'll give one more try to audiobooks. I don't know. I've given a lot of chances.
It does sound like you have given a lot of chances.
Yeah,
right,
and as you could tell by the first book, it's like over like 10 years. Like I've tried, and because then sometimes someone will say it again. I'm like, okay, I'll give it another try.
Yeah. Sometimes things just aren't for us, and that's okay too.
Yes,
that's okay.
That is true.
Yeah.
Accept it.
That's right. All right. So before we have you share with our listeners how they can connect with you, how they can find you, tell everyone if you have a win of the week, something small or big that's happened. It doesn't have to be this week, but recently that's felt like a win.
Well, I woke up today and I went to the gym.
Huge.
I mean,
that's huge.
It.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
And
at 6 a.m. 6 a.m.
Yeah. I barely made it. Like I literally.
But you made it.
Times in the night, woke up at 4, and then fell back asleep, obviously, because that's what you do. I mean, you're a responsible
you must be exhausted. Yes, I can't. I'm running a business as a mental health counselor, wife, mother to 2 kids under 4. Like, it's and you still made it to the gym at 6 a.m.
I did it.
I mean, 3 cheers, all the cheers. Massive win. All right. Share with everyone how they can find you, how they can connect with you.
Okay. I'm Busy Bee Crafts, Bizzy, B, letter B, CRAFTS on Instagram. And my website's busybeecrafts.com. And there you go. That's it.
Everyone who isn't following Brittany, go do so immediately.
Yes.
Your page is helpful, informative, heartwarming, honest, vulnerable, all the things we've said. And also you make the best hair accessories like on planet Earth. So if you have hair and you'd like to make it look cuter, people, or even if you don't have hair and you want to dress up your head, grab some accessories from Busy Bee, because we can endorse you all day. So
I never knew I was going to have an addiction to headbands.
I said to Abby. Abby kept saying, "You look so cute. How do I?" I'm like, "It's just these headbands. Like I haven't washed my hair in 4 days, but not literally today. But like when I told her that, I'm like, and she was just like, all right. She's like, headbands don't really fit me. She said the thing that you get all the time, which it's uncomfortable or they feel weird or whatever. And then I was like, well, try one and then you'll know. And boom.
Yeah.
Addiction born.
Yeah. I have a problem.
It was pretty easy. It was easy to it wasn't a challenge on my end. All I said was go buy this product. And you did.
And I tried 3 and then I couldn't stop. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for your support and for having me on.
Yes. Yay. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being silly with us for these last few minutes. We really appreciate your time and all the amazing things that you're doing in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Bye.
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 Warriors, we're just obsessed, not just with Brittany's headbands, but with Brittany. She's awesome. She's so freaking awesome.
We are obsessed with her headbands.
Yes. We're not just obsessed.
Right. But not just, because Brittany is super awesome too.
Yes. And if you're not following her, like we mentioned at the end of the episode, you have to go do that immediately if you're on Instagram, or go to her website and look at her incredible products. And we didn't get her info as far as like her mental health counseling, but I'm sure if you reached out to her on her website for info on that, I know that if we didn't know each other kind of on a personal level, like I would love to be counseled by someone like Brittany, because she's so authentic. She's so grounded and stable, right? There's something energetically that I feel like I'd feel really safe talking to her.
Yeah. Right. Right. And honest. I mean, she, just the reflections that she offers, you just feel it like in this like honest way. It's not like pre-planned, you know what I'm saying? It just feels super, real.
100%. I think my first takeaway is, we talked so much about small business anxiety, right? That was the main part of our conversation. And, usually even when our guests share about their anxiety situations being a little bit more recent, we kind of asked them to go back a little bit further and dive deeper into their like childhoods and adolescence. And we did not do that in this conversation, which I'm actually kind of glad we didn't, because I do feel like it's important to capture this snapshot of her life, right?
Yeah.
And she's really only been doing this business full time for the last few years. And so my first big takeaway is just like we've been saying so far, just her authenticity about her experience as a small business owner. I very much appreciate and value her talking about money and financial anxiety. I feel like not enough people in general share outwardly the fact that things have to change and that maybe your small business can't be everything in this moment or season of your life. And you've got to go fall back onto your degree, even for a little while. And so many people go through that. I can name at least 5 other people in like my orbit that are going through that exact thing, but have not shared about that publicly with their communities or in general. And like, I get that fear too, right? It's like putting that out there is scary, but like we're saying, I just feel I'm grateful for that honesty as a small business myself, knowing that even, you know, seemingly, presumably very successful small businesses that have had great seasons of success, like she talked about, go through seasons where maybe you still have success, but it isn't what it was or what you build up in your mind that it should be. And that was my other big thing, was that she talked about the thought loops, right? The spiraling that she goes through and about her worthiness and how that ties into whatever her sales were for that week. And I just feel like seen, I guess is the word.
Yeah. No, I that was definitely like the whole financial piece is definitely like a huge takeaway for me too. And like when you just said, you know, people going through it that aren't publicly talking about it, right? Like my first thought is like, oh, I wonder if there's like shame and feel of failure, right? Because like we didn't even talk about that with Brittany, like
a little bit,
I mean,
we
a
didn't
little
dive
bit
into it. Yeah.
Right. Like we didn't like all of the different emotions that can come up with a small business because, you know, it's not just financial anxiety, but it's also like the fear of failing and what does that say about you? And, you know, like there's so many, you know, and then the shame of admitting like, oh, I'm going back. And I'm not saying anyone's failed and I don't think there's any shame, but I think that when we don't openly talk about it, it does leave room for feeling more shame than there should be any, right? Like, I don't know if that sentence made sense, but
I got you.
Okay.
I 100%.
Yeah. Like to not talk about it, I feel like harbors shame when the reality is like, hey, you put yourself out there. Small businessing is really, really challenging. And there's ways to still support it, you know? And the other thing that like just by talking about the financial anxiety and running a small business, it kind of made me think of our chat with Jackie, where Jackie like went and like got a degree in accounting so that she could enjoy doing her other jobs, but she always had something to fall back on, right? And it just feels like that's not failure, right? It's not failure to set yourself up with stability. But I just feel like that's not spoken enough about. Like Instagram just gives the message like, well, you're not trying hard enough, or you need to hire a business coach and a career coach and a financial coach, and you know, and you need to be more active doing very specific things on Instagram. And if you do all those things and think about it in a positive way, then all your dreams will come true. And like that's not the reality. And so anyway, that's my like very long-winded way of saying like I just really appreciated her story, from her going to that mental health degree, right? And taking the tests and everything, and then just naturally going into headbands. But there's always this part of her that knew she could fall back on her degree with counseling, right? And so I feel like that probably gave some comfort as she shifted, knowing, okay, I have this too. I have a lot of takeaways. I feel like my brain is scattered with the things I'm trying to say.
I know. I feel you. I get that.
Okay. I'm making sense.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
I feel like I'm not, but okay.
It made sense to me. So what does that say about my brain? I suppose probably.
Exactly.
Let's not go there. My other big takeaway is just the simplicity of like, she said that quote of somebody had said it to her. I don't know if it was her mom or somebody in her life. She says, you can do everything, but not all at once. And yeah, I would push back a little bit on like, you can't do everything, but like, I get the general mentality of like, if you're thinking about your tasks in a day, maybe you can get through more of it than you thought. But if you are under the mind that like you're already behind on like a dozen things, because I feel like that's the mindset a lot of us hold, is then you're really going to get nothing done, right? It's just like doing one thing at a time needs to be like on some kind of gold star, like on our foreheads all the time.
Yes.
Like it's okay. And that it's all going to be okay if you don't get everything done. That was another big thing. It kind of goes with that. It's just like, we are never going to have like everything done, which talked about her husband asking to hang out. But do you have something to do or can you hang out? I am always doing something. I could always keep ticking things off my to-do list. It's about being intentional with your time and taking little baby steps towards changing the habits. You know, she talked about going to CrossFit and how changing up that routine for herself was what she needed in order to start to feel better about herself and her body, right? Or whatever. I don't remember exactly how she put it, but just that idea of like, it's not too late, do one thing at a time, and you got to be in charge of how much you do in a day. Like, and it's okay if not done. Like, just sort of like those, they're all basically just that load of reminders that she gave us towards the end there, right? That's just like that, those should all be on like post-it notes on everyone's refrigerator.
And why can't part of the to-do list, I think we've talked about this before. It might have been with a guest, and you'll probably remember if we did. But like, why can't on the to-do list be like watch TV with my husband? Right?
Yeah.
Like, so we can check it off. Right? But like the to-do list is always like business, work, clean the house, chores related. And why can't we just add some things like enjoy my podcast? Right? Like 40 minutes.
I think you and I talked about that. Like, I feel like that came up in one of our conversations. I know we've had notes of that with Vincent Lancy. I feel like with Darius a little bit too, right? And a few other people that I'd have to like really rack my brain to try to remember, but those two stand out for me in terms of like the being intentional with our time, right? And scheduling for joy. But I feel like that was more for like in a conversation that you and I had, I think, probably when we were talking about time, like
probably right.
But who knows? But yeah, it sounded familiar.
Yeah. But that, that's like part of the thing with the to-do list. Like, why don't we put other things?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We need to.
Yeah.
Everyone, go do that. Start adding things to your task list that are just for you.
Yes. So I guess my final takeaway is, and there's like a bunch, right? Because I know like you and I, especially, we can talk about small business anxiety. I wish we talked more about like, does she have any social media anxiety, right? Like, how does she feeling, so committed to Instagram and everything. I really wanted to ask her if people ever DM her and say collab to her, but I didn't ask that. There were so many questions.
I almost spit out my water.
But what I really appreciated, and we didn't talk much about this, is a little bit, but she said, like, what am I doing? And then she was like, does anyone know what they're doing? And I think that that's a really great question to hold, especially when we as small business owners compare ourselves to other small business owners, when we as people compare ourselves to other people, when we as anxiety warriors compare ourselves to other anxiety warriors, right? It's like, what am I doing? Does anyone know what they're doing? Like, because ultimately when I ask that question to myself, I believe the answer is no.
No.
I believe we get comfortable with things and we're like, yes, I know what I'm doing in this particular thing, but I still don't think anyone really knows what they're doing. And that question can be so liberating. And so when she said that, I like wrote it down, I started like, I was like, it is such a good reminder to ask yourself that, like, one, what am I doing? Right. But also, does anyone know what they're doing? Right.
Yes.
And so for me, that was just a really powerful takeaway. That's really easy to just like put in your pocket. And like, when you're comparing yourself to others, like just pull it out of your pocket and be like, oh yeah, no one knows what they're doing. Okay. I feel better now.
Right. Or what am I doing? And what I'm doing is not good for my mental health right now, which
yes.
is comparing, right? So both those questions are perfect reflections. So good. So good, Brittany. Oh, we love you so much. Thank you for being a guest on our show. And Warriors, we love you the very, very most. If you'd like to connect with us for any reason, join our Instagram family. We're at Anxiety Warriors Podcast. Or you can feel free to shoot us an email. We're at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your wins of the week, big or small. Shout out any topic ideas you have for us. What do you want to hear us talk about on the pod? Or if you think you would be a fantastic guest on our show, let us know. Whoop, burp, 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 burp. Hit us up and let's connect. Let's chat and get you on the calendar to share your anxiety story. Please take a moment and smash the 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning into this podcast right now. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of our episodes are uploaded for you over there. And if you're feeling extra generous, please head into our show notes and tap our Threadless merch shop link. You can get yourself something fun or something fun for the warriors in your life for the summer. It's getting warm here. Ready for summer. So grab yourself some Anxiety Warriors merch.
Yes. Get a shirt and then go to Busy Bee Crafts. Get a matching headband.
Hell yeah.
I got to tell you, our logos of Anxiety Warriors, like on our shirts, totally work with so many of Brittany's headbands, basically every single one. So
because we own them all and we wear headbands every day. So
yeah.
And I will say the banana clips have been a game changer for me. I used to hate these things growing up, but she sells them now and they're very soft. They're good quality. They're so comfortable.
Wow.
And I have extremely long hair.
Yeah.
Anyone that follows us on Instagram, my hair is, down to the middle of my back, and they've saved my life. And you can put them in and take them out and it doesn't put a bump in your hair like hair tie.
Oh my gosh.
So
I'm sold. I was hesitant about getting those clips.
Comfortable and
you
cute.
did sell me on headbands, so now I'm going to go check out that clip.
You said headbands.
I know. I was, it was headbands.
The emphasis on the bands.
I know.
I like it.
I was,
You sold me on headbands.
Now I'm going to do, I guess I was thinking head clips as opposed to hair clips. I don't know. I'm having a weird brain day. It's.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wow.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We are so grateful we get to do this with you.
Till next time.